I was walking along the beach, and Gary Lineker or Simon Cowell, they weren't there, neither was Nadra Ahmed. I was looking for celebrities, and I had my shades on as I walked past, and I was looking at those pink towels by Sandy Lane Hotel in Barbados, where all the celebrities gather. But somebody was there I wasn't expecting. "Hi, welcome to Barbados," he says. "You're new, aren't you? I haven't seen you here before." I said, "Yeah." "How long are you here for?" 10 days. "I thought I hadn't seen you before. Welcome, it's a fantastic island. Can I give you a word of advice? Although it's 5 o'clock in the evening, the sun is still very hot. And if you don't be careful, I'd hate your next 10 days to be ruined by getting sunburned at this time of the evening. And if you carry on walking along the beach, under those leaves, if one of those leaves falls on your bare skin, you will get a blister because of the sap on the leaves." This man, in his England football shirt and his Rasta hat, was typical of so many of the beach sellers that you come across when you're on holiday. But he was different. Not once did he try and sell me anything. Thought this was strange. Thought, one of the ladies said, "What have you got in there?" "Oh," he says, "pineapples." "Pineapples?" I said, "Yeah." And we just burst out laughing. I said, "Great. See you around." Next day, we bumped into it. "Hi, did I warn you about those leaves?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Just please be careful, because only yesterday somebody blistered themselves." And it was too much. Didn't try and sell me anything. So somebody said, "Tell us about these pineapples. Do you sell them?" He says, No, I don't sell the pineapples. People buy pineapples from me." People buy pineapples from me. So, wow, how much do you sell these pineapples for? People buy these pineapples from me for $200. $200? Are they made of gold? No, they're golden, they're delicious, they're an experience, they're fantastic, they're a work of art. And again, we burst out laughing, we parted company. Hadn't tried to sell us anything. And I thought, this guy is different. Knowing I'm going to come and speak with the standout care entrepreneurs in this country, I thought, what can I learn from this man? What can I share with care home owners that I might be able to pick up? I'm going to watch him carefully. So next day, I bump into him again. And he didn't try and sell anything. I thought, this is really strange. So I thought, what is his name? And he said, I said, "Do you mind if I'm a bit personal? Can I ask your name?" He said, "Yes, my name is Original. I am the original," rolling his R's for effect, "Pineapple Man from Barbados. You will find me on YouTube. You will find me on Facebook. I don't use computers, but my fans put me on there." Wow. So what we're going to talk about is how we can use the lessons of the Pineapple Man with our business. Because every time you meet somebody in business, there's something we're going to take away. You know, we get trapped with, we've been hearing about the regulations, and I think it's amazing how you all put up with this regulation. You must be the most over-regulated business in this country. But you put up with it and you strive on. But as Nadra said, profit is not a dirty word. You have to realise, one of the things I do is go into businesses and help people make more profit. And the most difficult thing I do is have the team understand that the reason you're doing this and the reason why you're putting your homes at risk when you're dealing with the banks is because you're looking to make a profit. And there's nothing wrong in actually having a business looking to try and make a profit. So I would like to introduce you to a few concepts, and some of them I'm going to whistle through. I want to introduce you to the eyesore review of your business. It's a term I use that I would like you to think about. Deliberate play on words, S-O-R-E, S-A-W. I'd like you to think about it with your team, because when I go into care homes, I use this exercise and I say, just think about you as a prospective client. Coming to put in mum or one of your relatives into your home, just have different eyes with it. And when you do this with your team, it's amazing what they'll see. What's the first thing you do when you're thinking about a care home? Where will you go first? Anybody shout out even before reception? If you're going to look, you were looking for a good care home. Website. Okay, first question. Think about your website. How friendly is it? 70% of people go onto websites for the phone number. Over 70% of people. Is it nice and clear on the top right-hand side of your page? Is it user-friendly? Is it something that says to me, this is different, this shows something about this home that is attractive, that I'm going to follow up? And if you pass that website test, what's the next thing you're going to do? You've got the phone number, exactly. You're going to phone up. Now, are you going to be unlucky because you're at a conference when I phone up that of all the people who's going to answer the phone, it's going to be that miserable mackerel that you employ? Because however fantastic you are, we've all got miserable mackerels who unfortunately feel it's their duty to answer the phone. And I might be putting somebody in who could be with you for 10 years. Just think the lifetime value of that resident in your home. And I could be put off going any further by that miserable mackerel who's answered your phone. We all have them. We can train them or we can stop them answering the phone. It's up to us. Having got past the miserable mackerel test, I come to say, right, I'm going to come and visit you. So somebody's made an appointment. I go in and what do I see? What do I look at? Are there weeds in the drive? What does it look like? What are the first impressions say about it? Because do you remember that man who wrote about Scandinavian Airlines? And he wrote the book and he said, if there's coffee stains on the table in front of me on the meal tray, gosh, what must be the state of my engines on the plane be like? Totally unconnected. But if you can't be bothered to clear the weeds in your drive, what does it say before I even get into your home what the decor is going to be like inside your home? What are the first impressions that are going to encourage me to come across into that front door and through that front door? And then, what do I have to pass? I know it's a cliche, and I know nobody ever has it, and I know I'm just unlucky to encounter it. But the smell test still exists. You have to pass that smell test. And there is no need for homes to smell in this day and age. First impressions. We all have to pass these first impressions tests. Before we can charge the right price to make the right profit, we have to get past these barriers and encourage people in. So I encourage you to think about the eyesore test. But before I leave this, can I just ask you what's the most important room that I as a visitor are going to have a look at? The toilet. The toilet's going to say an awful lot about your care. And I know you don't have it, and I know I've been unlucky in big national care homes as well as ma and pa homes. Why is it so many toilets have wheelchairs in them? Why are they storage areas for the frames, Zimmer frames? I know you don't have it, but why is it I'm unlucky when I go into homes and see this? It's totally unnecessary. I did a walk round in North London with an owner of a 100-bed home. And it was the first time he did a walk round in 2 months. He couldn't believe, because he was looking at it, we were doing an eyesore test. He was looking at it with different eyes. And I didn't mention anything. And I said, what did you see as we finished? And he reeled off a whole load of things. He said, I've never looked at the home that way before. So I'd encourage you just to try that with your team. Because it's amazing, they'll find the cigarette ends outside the front door where they go out for a quick smoke. They suddenly notice the rubbish that's been in the corner for 3 months that's never been cleared. That says a lot about your attention to care before they've even looked at anything. So let me encourage to be firm about yourself. Let me introduce you to a bottle of wine. I know you care as not many of you drink. Is there anybody who doesn't drink in the room? Apart from Nadra. Let me introduce you to Shingle Peak. Shingle Peak is from Marlborough, New Zealand. It is the first vineyard that introduced the Sauvignon Blanc grape to New Zealand. It's great. It's the sort of wine that when you go on holiday and your eyes are still bleary and you are looking forward to your 2 weeks, and you sit on the veranda, the last ebbs of the sunshine there, and you sip your cold, fresh wine. Not too sharp, not too sweet, just cleans your palate. You think, this is what I was put on earth for, to enjoy the finer things in life. I deserve it, I work really hard. And you talk about it, and you go to Sainsbury's because you want to see it. How much will you want to pay? I'll tell you what, it's just down the road from that other famous wine called Cloudy Bay. You won't be able to pick up Cloudy Bay for less than £20. It's cheaper than Cloudy Bay, I'll give you a clue. But I think it's better than Cloudy Bay. So Shingle Peak. You go into Sainsbury's, and all it says on the counter, it's great with cheese and fish. What would you want to pay for that Sauvignon Blanc? Anybody give me an idea? £6. Anybody give me more than £6? I know times are tough, but... OK, £6. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for playing. Thank you very much for playing. Right, I'm going to take you outside now, and it's on a table, it's in the fresh air, and you look around, there's a whole load of cars. It's a car boot sale. It's unopened, it's the same bottle of wine. How much are you going to give me for that bottle of wine? You want it, you've heard me talk about it. £3. You obviously haven't been to a boot fair, sir. Anybody give me less than that? Don't be shy. I normally get 50p or nothing at all. But it's all right, £3. Thank you for playing. Now, I'm going to take you up your high street, and I'm going to take you to that boutique with the wood panels, and you can smell the wood panels as you walk up, and there's a lady waiting there, and there's your bottle of wine, resting lovingly under the spotlight. Ah, she says with a smile, you've heard we've got some Shingle Peak in stock. We've got one open. If you'd like to taste it, tell us whether you like it or you don't like it, because everybody's palate is different. And if you don't like it, just explain why, and I'll recommend something that you might like. It's great with cheese and fish. We haven't got any fish, but we've got some cheese. If you'd like to have a nibble, try it again. Tell me if you enjoy it, and then you can take one away. Wow. What would you pay for that bottle of wine? 25. How much? 25. 25. I like your style, sir. Anybody give me more than £25? No? Gosh, you are a tight knot. So I do like your style. Do enjoy it. Very, very nice. Very chilled. Right. £3 to £25. What's the reason for the difference? The ambiance. Ambiance? Perception. Presentation. Service. One word. All of those. One word. Satisfaction, another one. Let me ask you, what's your brand? Are you cheap and cheerful car boot sale? Are you average Sainsbury's? Or are you specialist high-class boutique? Guess who earns the most profit? What's more important is, what do your team think you are? Even more important, what do your clients and your prospective clients think you are? Your brand is so important. It's the foundation of everything you are. And all the things you shouted out at me are true. So I would like you to think about what your brand stands for. And I'd like to introduce you to various ideas. In my work around the world, it applies to everybody. So I want to introduce you to the things that we've already started talking about. Your welcome systems. This was a hotel in Borneo. They had a system. Now you all can have systems for welcoming people. Instead of miserable mackerel, you can have a system, say this hotel had somebody looking out for a car coming up the drive, gave a signal to her friend who ran up the stairs, banged the gong. When the gong was banged, her friend on the signal, ding dong 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 dong. The porter heard ding dong 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 and went off to get a drink. Another porter went off to get a cold towel. So reception was over there. We weren't taken to reception, we were taken to the centre. Sit down. You've had a tough journey. And the porter with the cold towel brought along, and the porter with the cold drink. Receptionist comes to us, kneels down beside us, takes our details, and then walks us up to our room. Wow. What do I see when I get into the room? Fluffy towel and an orchid. What does that say to me? Presentation. Isn't this hotel nice? How much does it cost to have a fluffy towel and an orchid in your rooms? How many of your rooms, when you've got people coming to look around, are just bare and Spartan, or have you got fluffy towels and an orchid in your bathroom? Have you got anything that you to present your rooms in a way to make it easy for me to say, I want it, I want it. My mother would be great in here. Because these small things say a lot about your attention to detail. These small things say a lot about what you feel about quality, what you feel about the customer. How much does it cost? And then, the next day, I found a parcel on my bed. Amazing. I looked, I thought, that's very nice of them. I didn't ask for it. Shangri-La Razaria Resort. I opened it up. It's my shirt. I'd forgotten I'd given it to be washed. How many shirts and how many clothes get lost in care homes because they haven't been labelled properly? Let alone presented back. My poor old father was forever having to get other people's clothes off him. I know I was unlucky, and I know it doesn't happen in your home. But it's totally unnecessary, and it says a lot about your attention to care. But that was fantastic. And I've travelled around the world, and I've seen all sorts of ways people present their goods. From the market in Barcelona, any of you who've been up Las Ramblas would have seen the way they present their food. It says, eat me, and I did. Even the eggs, I didn't buy those, but I bought the sweets and the fruit. The ice cream, the Gaudi. Look, the trouble they took to do that, to actually resemble the architecture in Barcelona. So nice. And of course, when you took out a slurp, they had to talk. But then I went to Iran, and that was a typical example of, I spoke in Iran in August, and I left that picture in there. That's so typical of what I see. And the fruit stall. And it's the same with care homes. And I'm going to give you examples of some Amar and Par care home and a national group. You know, I'm not talking about big homes. It's an attitude that you have to get right that doesn't cost a lot of money. I went to this hotel in Quiche Island, and this could be a care home. I've seen examples of this in care home. Look at this, and I'm asking you, are you congruent in the way you present yourself with your marketing to what you actually really offer? Look at this brilliant marble floors and reception area. Even a picture of the hotel on their tissue box. And I go into the room looking for my fluffy towel and my orchid. And the ceiling's falling down. And the roof has been tied up. I know we wouldn't get it this extreme, but I'm using this to illustrate a point. Somebody at CQC went into a client of mine, and they not failed them, but reported on the fact there were cobwebs in the room. That's the detail they're going into now, cobwebs. This is a fantastic hotel. Look at this, they can't be bothered with the small stuff. Dirt on the, in the bathroom. I go to Langham Court in Hindhead, and I'm greeted next to a care home, sheep, nice country scene, totally different. I go to Hallmark's latest home at Lightview in Surrey. What a fantastic thing. Look at that hairdressers up the top left. You think, wow, that's better than any hairdressers I've seen in the real world. Now, okay, they're a national group and they've just won National Care Provider of the Year. Fantastic. So Avnish Goyal he's made it his goal to provide high-class, top-class standards. He doesn't have fires anymore as the centre of attention in his reception. He has a bistro. That's in his entrance. In every home you go into now, there is a bistro cafe to people can come in, sit, have a coffee, help themselves, fresh cakes. That is the centre of attraction. And his cinema, wow. Now, not everybody can do that, but I'm just saying about first impressions. What do you do to make your first impressions count? It doesn't cost. Now, Avnish has spent a lot of money doing his stuff, but at Langham Court in Hindhead, they are a Mar and Par home, family-run home, and they have done things which I'm going to share with you. I'm going to whistle through, because the steps that I talk about, I'm going to whistle through some of them, because how do you demonstrate your ethos, your ethics? You know, one thing I say with care homes, I always can tell whether it's a happy care home or not by the way the staff look at me. If the team members don't look me in the eyes, that says to me, we're not happy. If they can be bothered to look and smile, I say, that's nice. We've got some leadership here. They understand how important it is to engage with me. But there's so many ways you can show the ethos in your business. But I say, I'll come through and I'll just whistle through some of these points. What sort of guarantees have you got? How do you make it easy for somebody to come in and say yes? Do you offer, for example, somebody to have the chance to try your room for a week free of charge if they're not sure? What does it cost you? A bit of food and a bit of washing. The room's there, and if you're good, they're not going to leave. So don't be worried about giving away for a week. But people are so reluctant. The accountants in the organisation, the sales prevention department, I call them, I'm an accountant. The sales prevention department stop you giving away a week. Get them in, because the lifetime value of that person might be 10 years of your weekly fees. You just do not know. Make it easy for people to say yes. How do you do it? Most importantly, I want to talk to you about the service. So Langham Court and Huntington House in Hindhead. So when they give their tea, they've actually decided it's worthwhile getting a team to do hospitality, not just for the drinks at mealtime, but also to serve out the tea, just to make people feel comfortable. It's a small touch, but the lady there, reading her paper, who is a real resident, it's not posed, enjoys being looked after with her cream tea. It just doesn't cost so much just to have different uniforms for different times. And it just says something. And I want you just to remember, if you want people to talk about you in the outside world and give you word of mouth recommendation, you must give them something to talk about, hopefully something positive. Pippa has been round and dished out some cards. I'd like you to look at those cards and think about what are you going to do different. And if you want, you can mail me those cards and I'll follow you up, because it will have your address on it, and I'll follow you up and ask you what you'll do differently. I would like you to join my crusade against mediocrity. I would like you to be magnificent and dazzling rather than satisfactory and dull like so many businesses are. I want you to think about what you can do about your service. In Langham Court and Huntington House, they have got a residents' food club. So the family, the son, is interested in food. So what they did is they've said, right, every 2 weeks, we're going to have something to stimulate the appetite of our residents. So just be an hour before the meal, they get somebody to say, in this case, they've created a sausage, and they've created a Langham Court sausage. They've got the local butcher to come in and explain. They've had fish. This one's a blackberry and pepper fruit leather, for goodness sake. What's that? All it is getting everybody now turns up for food club. What does it cost? Well, you've got the cooks there anyway. It does a bit of research, but it's actually involving your people. Of course, what do they talk? They talk to their relatives. They talk to their solicitors. They talk to their accountants. They talk to the social workers. They talk to their doctors. And what do these people do? They talk to the outside world. What does it cost? Very little. What are you doing to engage and being different with your team and with your residents that people are going to talk about? If you want to join my crusade against mediocrity and be magnificent and dazzling, you will think about what can you do differently, not just your first impressions about your service. There's 3 types of service in this world. It's what I call AAA service. There's all right, there's awful, and there's amazing. Which one does nobody ever talk about? All right. When was the last time you went to a new restaurant? I went to this new restaurant last night and the service was all right. If it was amazing, you'd tell 10 people. If it was awful, you'd tell 20 people. I know none of you give awful, but do any of you give amazing? Because do you know what? You wouldn't have to spend any money on marketing if you gave amazing. Because every time somebody came in, they'd tell 10 people. Your marketing will be done for you. It's fantastic. But what do we give? Satisfactory, because we've got so many regulations, we got so tied up about being compliant, and I understand the problems you have doing it, but what can you do despite the regulations to get your team to be amazing? Because what does it cost to be amazing? Very little. It costs training, it costs attitude. What can you do to instill that fantastic attitude in your team to get people talking about you in a positive manner? So my challenge is, don't be sad, get mad. Don't be satisfactory and dull like so many are because they're just getting on with the day-to-day life. Be magnificent and dazzling. Join my crusade against mediocrity. And if you've got the time, just send me a note and tell me what you're going to do, because I guarantee I'll follow you up and offer you, if there's any way I can help you do something different, I will do so. So moving on quickly, frustrations. What are the frustrations of the care homes? Think about it, because if you can identify, and I'm not going to spend any time on this, if you can identify your frustrations, just rectify them. You know what people get frustrated about. Rectify it. It's very easy. I want to move on to some important things. How innovative are you? Again, Ma and Pa home, family-run home, Langham Court. Dementia home is Langham Court. Just recently opened a year ago, and part of their activity is not sing-along. It's not making hats. So, well, sun is shining, I'm going to get my car clean. Anybody want to come and clean my car? Suddenly everybody puts their coats on, they all come out, and they love cleaning the car. And and what they do, well, let's raise some money for Macmillan's. And so the residents were taking part in helping clean the car. What a brilliant activity. And the carers whose car was being washed then raised the money which they donated to Macmillan. So just, how much does that cost? Nothing. It's just being slightly innovative. I just want to open the filing cabinets in your head and think about what could you do with your team. When I was in Barcelona, I went up to the Olympic Village, and I don't know if any of you have been to Barcelona. You go up to the Olympic Village and you come down this higher wire machine down to the harbour. And down there you see Tappa Tappa, who spend a fortune on their advertising. You come down this high wire, and right there on the corner is Tappa Tappa. And just round the corner from that is Roman Abramovich's yacht. So nice millionaire territory. And guess what? Guess who they've got greeting you? You're right, miserable mackerel. We've all got them. We've got to get rid of them. We've got to speak to the solicitors and get rid of them legally. But they're ruining our business, because while you're here, you don't realise miserable mackerel could be talking to your prospective most important client. And she said, "Why are you taking a picture of me?" I said, "Because you're amazing. I had to capture it." That was the only time she smiled. I went to Lithuania earlier this year, and I saw this beautifully presented flower shop, and I just saw, see that in red there, some talking to a friend in the back. So I'm a customer looking at the flowers, didn't come out, so I just waited till she came out. Yeah? And what do you want? Do you have anybody in your team like this? I know you don't, because you're the ones who are set aside. But help your colleagues who might have. Because if you can actually educate your colleagues who've got team members like this, make them realise the impact they're having on your prospects. Because we spend so much money on social media and pay-per-click and nonsense like that, we forget about dealing with the basics that are so important that cost little money. So we spend all these massive brochures and fantastic printing. It's totally out of date. As soon as you've printed it, it's totally out of date, when the people who are actually ruining our business are our team members. Remember, people do not believe what you say about yourself. You might be very proud of your website. You might be very proud, and you've got a testimonial from Mr. P, Mrs. R's son. Well, sorry, Mr. P could be anybody. You've made it up. If you're going to have a testimonial, because I believe what other people say about you, not what you say about yourself, make it real. So make it real, like a video testimonial. So I was looking at that because there was meant to be a video testimonial there. Technology being whatever, we'll move on. But don't have testimonials when people die. You've got people who are really happy in your homes. Take a video of them, go and have a look at Huntington House, go and have a look at Langham Court, and you will see examples of what I call living testimonials from the people that matter, the people who are actually experiencing your care. It's nice to have letters from relatives when their relatives have died, but it's even nicer to have living testimonials from people who are there, that when you walk around and say, "Oh, I've seen you on the website." That's far more important, because we've got Google reviews, we've got all sorts of other people who are going to be passing comment on us. But the most important one is the people who are experiencing your care, and get that right, because that's what social proof is. Cialdini's done a study, social proof is so important. What value do you give? Well, we all give value, of course we do. Some people give value, other people don't give value, yet they think they do. I'm not going to spend any time. I just want to move on to a story about when I was in Calgary. I was at the Sheraton Suites in Calgary, And they welcomed me as I walked in the door. The door was nearer, the reception desk was nearer than I am to the door there. And they looked up and smiled and said, "Mr. Ogilvie." I said, "Wow. How did you know it was me?" I said, "Well, we knew you were flying in today. We worked it out, and we knew that we'd sent a taxi for you. So we suspected it would be you because you're coming in with your cases." "Well, that's very nice." And the receptionist took my details and walked me to the room. They walked me to the room, and there was a boot. You know, Calgary's the rodeo capital of Canada. And there was a cowboy boot made out of chocolate with grapes in it. And I said, "Is that real chocolate?" She said, "Yeah." "Well, for me to eat?" "Yeah." So she said, "I'll come back in half an hour, show you about explain the facilities and tell you a bit more about Calgary." Wow. So she goes out. What do? I go and take a bit of the boot. It was lovely. Before a minute had passed, I was down to the sole. I was so embarrassed what a pig I'd been. And I thought, I can't let her come back and find there's only a sole left. So I'll go and find her. So I'll go find her. And I walked around town. That evening, I was so embarrassed. My boot had gone, but it had been replaced by a cowboy hat made out of chocolate with chocolate strawberries. And next to my bed, the mat had been changed. And there was a wee willy winky mat for sleep well. And on my pillow was a little chocolate and a little herbal tea. And Mandy said, "If there's anything else I can do to help you sleep well tonight, just call me." I didn't. But I just loved the fact that she cared. And I thought, how easy it is. How much does that cost to show that you care? Now, it's such a little touch. Now, I couldn't find a cowboy boot, but I knew Nadra also loved chocolate. But I found a football boot, and I just thought, at Christmas coming, Nadra's got to have a chocolate boot in memory of me. Thank you very much, Nadra. Now, that cost me a fortune, as you can see. But that small touch from the Thorntons, hopefully, will find me a place in Nadra's heart. So she will talk about me. And I want you to find little experiences you can give and share with people. So people will talk about you. So you can please your accountant by reducing your marketing costs. Because you're going to get your team to find ways of being mad, not sad, being magnificent and dazzling. So as we come to the close. Original. Day 5. Hi, how are you doing? Are you enjoying Barbados? We're loving it. Tell me when you'd like to try the experience. Notice the language. Tell me when, not if. Tell me when you'd like to try the experience. What experience? The pineapple experience. Well, I'm playing golf tomorrow, Original, but maybe on day 7, you could come. I'll find you, don't worry, because we were in the hotel next door. We couldn't afford Sandy Lane. I'm only an accountant. So he finds us day 7. And so he gets the pineapple and he starts singing. He says, "I'm a poet." And his poetry was a bit naff. You can see if you actually look on YouTube. He says, "Oh, the pineapples are great for your chest. They help you to digest," and all that sort of thing. So my accent's not very good. But we indulged him as he carried on. And he started peeling, so holding the spiky feathers, started peeling his pineapple. Just like an apple. And of course it's left with the notches. And he's cut through the notches without touching the fruit, gets a fresh freezer bag out, holds the flesh with a big swish from the knife, taking out of his wooden hole, said, "Right, here it is. I'm going to cut it into 6, the party of 6. A whole crowd had gathered to watch the pineapple experience. And as he finished and as he presented it to me, there was massive applause. And I suddenly thought, I haven't asked the price. So he smiled, and I felt a bit fidgety, and I said, "Well, Original, that was fantastic. That was amazing. How much do you want?" "Oh, Mike," he said, "I've come to think of you as a friend. Let's call it 100. Original, I said, "I've come to think of you as a friend. Let's call it 20, as I presented him a $20 note. He takes the note. On the other hand, he, with a glint in his eye, shakes my hand. "Mike, it's been great doing business with you." And I thought, I haven't been had, but that is amazing. How much did that pineapple cost him? How much money, in terms of profit margin, did he make? And I thought, what have I learnt from that? What have I learnt? He hasn't tried to sell me once. He's invited me to buy from him. He has made me like him because people like to deal with people they like. He's given such an amazing experience that price became irrelevant in the end. I so enjoyed it, I can't believe I voluntarily gave him $20. But I was so relieved that it was so much less than the 100 that he was doing a special deal on. What could you do to give your clients and their relatives an amazing experience that's mad, not sad, that people will go and talk about you around the world? Because I now go around the world and talk about Original. He doesn't even know that. I sent him a note on Facebook the other day and just said, Original, you won't believe it, the number of times I speak about you. I thought he'd probably slap me with a copyright or something. He'd probably be crafty enough to know that. But it's the experience that matters, just like the chocolate boot in Calgary. What does it cost? So little. We spend so much time with our marketing that's totally unnecessary. So I would like you to think about these stories. This pineapple, what can you learn from that pineapple? And think about what I've discussed with you. I've talked about the brand when we went through the ISOR report. I've talked about your ethics and the values that you have, but I didn't go through quickly, so excuse me for that. No risk. What's your guarantee? How do you make it easy for them to try you before they buy from you? I've talked about the AAA service. Do you give AAA or single A service? I would rather give AAA amazing, so people talk to me, talk to 10 people, rather than awful, where people talk to 20 people, or average, where they talk to nobody. What are the frustrations about dealing with a care home, normally involving the team? How innovative are you and how do you demonstrate that? And what about your team attitude? Have you got any miserable mackerels, or have you got any friends, if you can pass on any miserable mackerels in your team? Because they're destroying you without you even realising it when they answer that phone or when they answer that door. Just on that point, how many homes have the biggest number of visitors on the weekends? And this is a rhetorical question, because I don't want to be embarrassed. And how many people have no receptionists on the weekends? I just do not understand that. So whenever I went and visited my father or my mother in a care home, I visited more in the evenings and on the weekends when there was nobody to greet me. It was quite common for me to stand outside the door for 10 minutes because it was inconvenient for them to answer the door to me. When you could have a young receptionist who would be very grateful for the pin money to give me the right impression. Instead of talking about the length of time it took me to get in and the lack of attention, rather than having this young, bright thing who was delighted to greet me, offer me a cup of tea, walk me to my father's room or whatever. We've got our priorities wrong. We're so focused on cost rather than service. I know you don't do it, but I'm just talking about your colleagues who aren't here. Okay. So the team attitude, the testimonials. Of course, you know, you've got live testimonials, and we talk about the outcome. People buy satisfaction from you. They buy reassurance. They don't buy nice, you know, the number of times I see brochures, and it's all about the house, because that's what it's cost you, all that money, the building. I don't care about your building. I assume it doesn't leak. I want to see evidence that's going to reassure me, because when I put my father in to your home, I want to know I'll get reassurance. I want to know you give me massive value, but above all, I want a fantastic experience from you. I want my father to have a fantastic experience from you. I want to talk about you around the world. I want to hear from you, so please, please, please send me your cards and tell me what you're going to do different. I will help you. This is the what's in it for me. I want you to think about, you see what it spells? Benefit to me. It's the benefit to the patient and to the relatives. It's nothing about you and your compliance that's going to guarantee that you're going to earn the money you deserve for what you do for these needy people. So if I leave you with one final message, it's all about them and it's nothing about you. Thank you very much for joining me and sharing in this talk today.